Podcast starts now. Welcome all to StraightioLab. We are back bi-coastally on Zoom. Just me and George today. George, how the hell are you?
Hi. You know, it's funny. We're so used to doing this for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
The default Patreon recording is, maybe a little bit raspy voice on a Sunday afternoon. Maybe one of us has a coffee, one of us has a smoothie or some other type of specialty beverage. There's no pressure to be firing on all cylinders comedically, but wouldn't you know it, through that comes the best possible comedy because we can finally relax and be ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget that most people, statistically, that listen to this podcast only get the non-Patreon episodes. And it's kind of like, we live this life as kind of Zoom domestic partners. We have conversations, we have debates, we cook dinner, we have breakfast, and then people only get to see the side of us that comes out when we have a guest.
Yeah. They see us when we've, spent all day cleaning the house, when we're wearing our best shirts, when we say, let's turn on the face.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're sort of letting you in. It's sort of this type of episode where it's just two of us. It's like being on vacation with someone, and you then wake up the next day and you're like, so we're still hanging out, huh?
Well, it's that, but it's also being like, God, we're so comfortable with each other that we can just stay in the silence.
Oh, absolutely.
Like one of us is doing the crossword and one of us is reading the latest issue of Harper's Bazaar.
Speaking of, I want to talk to you about your big party last night.
Ooh, well, I have to say, I went to a big party last night. It was Egghouse Lotta, Tinder, and the ACLU were the three co-hosts of this big Fashion Week party. And wouldn't you know it, the MC was our very own Kat Cohen.
When you were posting pictures from there, I was like, God, I miss New York.
Oh, and it was in the Russian tea room. Have you ever been there?
I've never even been.
I hadn't either. And I actually found myself unintentionally lying and talking to someone and being like, I haven't been here in so long. And then they were like, I've actually never been here. And I was like, yeah, me neither.
This is something that we both have in common, actually. If people assume I've been somewhere, I will let them assume it. Mm-hmm. I would never correct someone to be like, I'll even go so far as to say I fully lied. You know what I lie about?
What?
That I actually, the last time I was in New York, I got called the fuck out, is I lie about having been to Basement.
Oh, yeah. Have I been to Basement? I actually don't even remember at this point.
I'm always like, yeah, I've been to Basement. And then somebody point blank looked at me and was like, wait, like, and it was like someone I hadn't met before, and it was sort of like a getting to know you convo.
Yeah.
But like it was like him and then like a close friend. And he was like, wait, have you been to Basement before? And I was like, no. And then it was Julio, and Julio's like jaw dropped. And I was like, see, this is why I don't tell anyone that I haven't been to Basement, because I don't need to go to Basement to have been to Basement.
Oh, totally. Well, this is like me having a terrible sense of direction, but insisting on nodding vigorously when someone is like, that spot on Carmine where it's next to that one bodega? And I'm like, of course. Oh God, I used to always go there in 2007. I can't bring myself, because I have such a bad sense of direction. I don't know which things I should know and which things are specific. Do you know what I mean?
I fully understand.
It's sort of like, it's not embarrassing to not know a very specific niche intersection, but it is embarrassing to not know where Times Square is. But I don't know if we're closer to Times Square or closer to random intersection on Carmine when I'm talking to someone, so I just pretend that I know everything.
Well, then it's like, is there going to be a quiz on this? Because so many times
totally.
You can just get through it and be like, I made them feel like they were heard. And that's kind of all they wanted in that moment.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they are like, but have you been there? Or like, but what's across the street? And I'm like, sorry, I'm kidding. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. See, they want to have a conversation, whereas you're trying to just get a gold star to get through the day. Like you're just trying to prove to someone I'm also human. You're Amy Adams holding up the human sign in Arrival. Meanwhile, they're trying to actually have an interaction.
Yeah, it's simply not right. It's not right at all.
By the way, I just want to say for everyone listening and being like, God, they're being so loose and sexy, and I wish I could hear more of this. We do this twice a month over on the Patreon, patreon.com/StraightioLab. And we are churning them out, doll.
Yeah. So you had fun at this party.
Yes, I had such a good time at the party. I really did, actually. I was very, with events, of course, you never know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, it's really hit or miss.
It could go. You could be the outsider who doesn't fit in. You could also, on the other side of things, be like among the same people you see all the time, and that's also boring. And you're almost like, I wish an outsider would come in, someone like Ryan in the OC, let's say, and really shake things up in this town, because I am sick of making the same small talk over and over again. And this was a real happy medium. You know, there were some people I knew, some people I didn't know. It was very nice to see Kat like working the room. They played, the DJ. You know, I'm actually going to look into who this DJ was so I can give them a proper shout out on a later ep. We're talking like the perfect balance of, you know, there would be a B-side from Madonna's American Life album. So they actually specifically played Nobody Knows Me.
Wow.
Nobody Knows Me. And then there would be like, you know, let's say like a shot, sort of like a semi-ironic Sade remix or something, but then it would go right into Abracadabra.
Heaven.
And martinis were flowing. Finger food was the perfect level of finger food, because they can obviously be too little, but it can also be too much. And suddenly you're having whole slices of pizza.
Yeah.
But it was just the right amount of past apps. And then at the end, there was a full hour of just pigs and blankets. And you kept sort of thinking, oh, like, this is the last one I have to pounce while they're still going. And then it would be like 45 minutes later, pigs and blankets.
Wow.
Yeah.
And doesn't Kat famously love pigs and blankets?
I actually do think that's true.
Wow. I wonder if it was because of Kat.
Maybe it was because of Kat. She kept she kept like making really funny references to the idea that Eckhouse-Lada, Tinder, and the ACLU were natural partners, because obviously it's so random that it's those three companies. So she kept just being like, name a more iconic trio. I'll wait here all day. Name a more iconic trio.
That is so funny. Wow. The more distance I have from New York, the more that I'm just like, it's literally Sex in the City. Like, I'm like, God, that's like a Sex in the City episode.
I know.
And it's weird to see it from a zoomed out lens.
Well, especially Russian Tea Room. You know, have you ever been to Tao? And don't lie.
I've never been to Tao.
So I went to Tao for the first time this year, which is I thought it was literally like a fictional Sex in the City location.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, you know, obviously it's glam in its own way, but it does feel like you're chasing something that is no longer there.
Yeah, it's like working in Hollywood.
That's right. Well, yes, that's like, yeah, it's like working in any industry that isn't, I guess, like Doge.
Yeah, or Amazon funded.
So what are we doing today? Tell the listeners.
So pretty much today we're going to, it's very loose. We're going to go through some calls and we're going to chat.
Yeah.
And that's essentially it. I think what's amazing about going through calls is that we don't even say things like, we're going to be giving advice, because, well, quite frankly, we're not. What I love about, as we continue to deconstruct everything around us, this is a call-in show that's like, we will play your call and then go, okay, and then we'll sort of talk about it. Totally. It's a conversation.
It's a prompt. We're having a conversation, and then when we feel like it, we press the button that's like, here's a new prompt.
Exactly.
And whether or not we follow it and to what extent is kind of none of your business. Because this is a free episode and you're not paying for it. This is ad-supported.
Malma. I'm actually tired for no good reason. I mean, I did nothing last night, but Gizmo, the dog, normally a very healthy and strong constitution.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he was diarrheaing like crazy last night.
Oh my God.
And in a way that was I was like, is everything okay? So I kept having to get up and like clean things, actually. It was like a nightmare. But I think he seems better today. But it was really like, I was like, is this what it's like to have a child?
Kind of.
I was like, damn, I'm not built for it.
Our niece lives like a 10-minute walk from us. So it's very nice because we get to see her whenever we want. And I'm actually going to go see her after this. And, I've always been pretty ambivalent about having kids. And I sort of thought having a niece would move me definitively in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost has done the opposite, where I'm kind of like, even less decisive about it now because I'm like, oh, so now I just have like an on-call child. Like I can go whenever I want and microdose being a parent.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do any of the like difficult things. I never, like when I miss her, I can just see her.
Yeah.
Why would I have my own?
No,
but then also, if I'm driven to see her, does that mean I want to be a parent? It's unclear.
It's unclear. The whole thing confuses me quite a bit.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Sorry, I will play the first call, but I have a theory that like there's something about having a child in your 20s that is sort of a classic for a reason because you're just dumb enough to not or just inexperienced enough to not consider all the difficulties of it. And I actually think, because there's part of me that's like, oh my God, what am I going to be 50 still considering whether I want kids? And it's like, yeah, because the older you get, the more stuff you know, and the more there is to sacrifice if you change your life radically from one day to the other. It's actually not that I'm, immature or like, or like I need to grow up that I'm still undecided. It's like, yeah, it makes more sense to be undecided in your 30s than it does when you're 23.
I fully agree. Sometimes I think about that with like getting married too. When people like got married at 25, I was like, that's so young. And I'm like, wait, maybe they were right. Like there was something like, it's like more like, yes, obviously there's more risk of like getting divorced later, but still it's like, but you were like living out loud. You were like not dumb enough to really consider everything else.
And you know what else? That's sort of how I feel about career stuff too. Because like, for example, in most of Europe, and I believe honestly in most places outside of America, you like apply and get into a field. It's like you apply to college and you get into the psychology program, you get into, the law program, whatever. And then you're sort of like, well, we got to do it live. Whereas here, it's like you spend 4 years just reading books. Then you have to have a 15-year-long unpaid internship. And then suddenly at 35, you're like, oh, is my heart really in it? And it's like, well, by this point, someone in Sweden has 4 children and is running for office.
Yeah. It is tough. It is tough. Being in this age is funny. I'm like, I can't tell if it's this age or if it's LA, but hobbies are back. Did I tell you this?
Really?
I think hobbies are back in a big way.
Well, hobbies, I do think you are obviously right that like childless people in their 30s go back to hobbies. And that just is a fact.
That just is a fact. And
what kind of hobbies are we talking?
Oh, I think woodworking. I think like, okay, I took, I mean, this is like it's not a real one, but I went to have you ever been to the gay guy dance class?
You're going to have to be more specific.
The one that Alec Cohen does?
Oh, no, I haven't.
At Gay Choreographer on Instagram.
Oh, I know him.
Well, he did an LA one yesterday, and I went to it, and it was extremely fun. Highly recommend if anyone is interested in
is it
gay
like
dance class.
Pop music?
Pop music. We learned to dance to Green Light by Lorde.
Ooh,
and it was so much fun. But I was like, I also couldn't stop zooming out and being like, this is like Charlotte going to like take a salsa class and like hoping to like switch it up and be like, I've still got it, don't I? I've still got it.
I know. It's so hard to how like these things are coded as somehow embarrassing. It's like, oh, you want to like develop a skill, you want to like have fun, you want to meet people, loser. We need to get away from that mindset.
It's also funny to be there and be like, there's all these gay guys that I don't know or have like vaguely been at the same events as because, and like, we just all say hello as if we know each other, like hugging and being like, hi. And it's like, we do not know each other.
Also, I have to say, gay guy hellos have gotten to I would say, avant-garde point at this point. Like, you genuinely don't know if someone is going to like do a little jig when they see you or fully make out with tongue. I have no idea what I'm even going for. And by the way, you know what? It's the most lame possible thing you can do. Go in for a hug. That's the one thing no one does anymore. If you're going in for a hug, you might as well be saying no homo. I don't care what you do behind closed doors, dude, but like it's not for me.
Yeah, you at least have to go moi as you do it. You have to do a little moi.
You have to go moi. Also, or it's like 2 gay guys in a row will kiss me on the lips. So then I'll be like, okay, so this is a lip party. So then I'll go for it with the third one, and he'll like not be ready for it. And I'm like, no, it's not my fault. Like I thought we were doing lips tonight.
The precedent was set. I'm just following precedent. That is true. I love the gay guy hello.
You know, it's funny. We've just created a version because already straight guy hello famously confusing because you don't know what sort of like handshake they're going to go in for, and so now we've created that. But the more gay version, which is what level of makeout are you doing with your random online friend that you've met once before? Speaking of gay versus straight, how about we take a first call?
Let's do it.
Hi, George. Hi, Sam. Big fan. My name's Zach. So I came out really late. I came out at like the age of 27, and that was like 4 years ago. And I have a wonderful boyfriend who is like my seeing eye dog for like gay world. But I still kind of feel like a kid who was homeschooled his whole life who suddenly is like at his first day of public high school. So I guess my question is like, how do I act more gay, for lack of a better term, while still like being myself? And like, how do I know like what parts of myself are truly me versus what I like conditioned myself to act like, think like, be interested in from being in the closet for so long? Thanks. Bye.
Honey, with a voice like that, I don't think you need any more help being more gay.
You bitch. I was going to say he has a hot voice to me. Am I wrong?
Well, I can be hot and still be gay sounding.
Wow, look at me doing internalized homophobia. You're like, your voice sounds gay. I'm like, no, actually, it was pretty hot. I just want to say, I think it's the perfect level of gay. I think it is in conversation with some of the great gay guys we know. And
I think it's a great gay voice.
I don't think it's especially, but by the way, it's no problem if if it was super queeny, that would also be completely fine. But I think in the range of like super queeny on one end and kind of like surprisingly husky, like a Jared Goldstein, let's say, where you're like, oh, didn't know we were dealing with a mask for Mask Mama tonight. I think it is a perfect down the middle, and I think it is a perfectly lovely voice.
I think it's a perfectly lovely voice, and I'm sorry I said it sounded gay, but I'm not. I celebrate it sounding gay, and I think I say it because it's always a funny question when someone's like, "How do I be more gay?" And it's like,
totally
look inward, bitch. You best start believing in being gay. You already are.
I distinctly remember having this issue. Going to your first gay bar, gay club, whatever, and thinking the issue is that you're not gay enough, when actually the issue is that you're like too gay.
I wish there were some examples. I think like I know what he means.
Of course. And by the way, I have that feeling every time I'm in a new community of any kind. Of course, you have that feeling.
Yeah. Like, I've always joked that I wish I had been closeted a little bit longer so that I could have a favorite football team, because I think as a gay guy now, it would be so funny to be like, yes, I'm my paws are up, but when the game's on, don't talk to me. I think that would be fun. But unfortunately it didn't happen for me.
To that point, I just want to say so many gay guys are sorry to use the word performative this way, but performatively liking straight things these days.
I agree.
And I think it's not cute anymore. Like, stop it. Because actually, at this point, it's not ironic. You are just feeding into what Trump wants.
Yeah,
it's enough of a gay guy being like, actually, what I really love is beer and football with the boys.
Yeah,
have some self-respect and listen to Tinashe.
Is that too much to ask? We're not asking you to stop liking. It's also just like, that's like, don't take pride in it. It's like, doesn't make you unique.
Like, it's just as kind of basic and normal as if a straight guy liked it. It doesn't make you special.
No.
And I'm also especially angry about this today because Matthew and I have a reservation for 4 at this restaurant. It's Super Bowl Sunday, okay? Woohoo. And so I'm asking around. I'm saying which gay guys can go with us. Every single one has Super Bowl plans.
Really?
I'm like, wake the fuck up. and come to this very desirable new restaurant, by the way, where it's difficult to get a reservation.
I mean, this year is like, in the past, I've ironically been like, let's like Misha likes to make chicken wings. And it's like, okay, let's just like have Super Bowl food and have people over and like pretend.
Yeah.
But this year I was like, actually, I fucking hate the Super Bowl. I sure, I want to watch the performance, but that's it. And then like, so I'm not going to waste my Sunday doing something ironically that I don't care about at all.
Totally.
And we can make Super Bowl food for the fucking Oscars.
Yeah. So I will say, in terms of this question, you actually are in a great place right now if what you're searching for is more queer community, because it's cool for gay guys to act straight now. So you have so much more practice in this, so you can really like teach people how to enjoy straight things.
That's true.
But my favorite part of this question is definitely the question of how to disentangle what is actually your authentic personality from what you were socially conditioned to like as a closeted person pretending to be straight. And I think both of us have things like that that are like straight leaning interests from our time in the closet. Would you like to speak to yours?
Yeah, mine is indie rock music.
Exactly.
Mine is that when I get drunk, I'll say, let's put on Silver Jews.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on. And it is like, there's something about it where I am even still torn, where I look like, where I'm like, do I like this? Or was this just like, because I was in this friend group in college that like, this was the currency and this is all my memories of that. But it's like, there's not really a difference, I think. Like, I kind of think there's no way to disentangle those things.
Yeah. I also think it's still you, like, if anything, your connection to those things could be more complex because you have a more multifaceted relationship to it than just someone who's like, that rocks.
And I do think there's something, I understand this caller too. Sometimes I get jealous of a guy who is like, just was gay from the jump, like
totally.
Knows all the like Britney Spears B-sides for some reason that no one else listens to. Yeah. And is like they really feel like they're in it. They're in the gay culture in a way where you're like, that's so different than my relationship with it. And it's not that I like don't like Britney Spears. I just only know the hits. And so but I also think it's all, everyone has varying levels of involvement in the gay culture.
Yeah.
George, what's your straight thing?
I will tell you in a second, but do you think a previous generation of gay men is like listening to this and rolling in their graves that are examples of gay culture are Britney Spears B-sides rather than like the opera and going to the Philharmonic?
Yeah, maybe.
Whatever. Guess what? Whatever.
Oh, they're going to be fucking dead soon. Fuck that.
Yeah, and then we'll be condescending to kids that are, for whom the like foundational gay texts are the TikTok of that one girl being like, it's about food, it's about omega-3s and fatty proteins. And then we're like, how about you listen to Email My Heart by Britney Spears, bitch?
Yeah, know a real song.
So mine, the only thing I can think of, honestly, I mean, I will say I went through like a soccer phase, but I think that was more so because I like the pageantry of things like the Olympics, things like the Euro Cup. I like to see countries that normally don't get their due, countries like, you know, Argentina, let's say, or Brazil, you know, countries that are not global superpowers be like number one at something. So I would say like in the early aughts, I would like regularly watch the World Cup or the Euro Cup. And I will say it that when I came to America, I did get off on knowing something, that, like having a sense of history about something that other Americans did not, and being able to like switch that gear and be like, oh, did you know George knows about soccer? So that was one. And then the other one, I think, was just, I think I liked a lot more like classic stand-up, like George Carlin classic stand-up than you did. You were much more alt from the jump.
That's true.
Like I'd be like into watching George Carlin's HBO specials or like looking up like Richard Pryor or things like that. Of course, that really took me right to Joan Rivers very fast, so I don't want to overstate how much I stayed in that zone.
Well, you know, if people knew how much I used to stan Louis C.K., there'd be some issues.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the best to ever do it. But I just want to say, I think like, sorry if this is a cop out, but I do just think literally you have to just let go. Like, you have this amazing boyfriend. It seems like you do have queer community. You have other queer friends. Just because they know another song or film or play than you do doesn't mean you have to have any insecurity about it. And guess what? You're going to be a lifelong learner. We're all still learning things. Every single time some random gay icon celebrity dies that I've never heard of, I feel so dumb. But then guess what? Yeah, I just looked them up and then I'm ready to go the next day. And I'm posting, I can't believe she was taken from us so soon.
at 98 years young.
At 98 years young. Rest in power.
Rest in power. But yeah, I fully agree. I think it's a lifelong journey.
It's a lifelong journey. And I actually just think like how exciting that you're 4 years into being out and you have this great boyfriend that you like and you're listening to StraightioLab. I mean, that is more than so many people can say for themselves.
Honey, you're doing the work.
And you have a beautiful, sexy voice. And I stand by that.
That sounds LGBTQ plus.
That's right. Okay.
Positive.
All right, next call. Okay, I will say this person, A, called on Christmas Eve. B,
Slay.
had the same, he has the same area code that I did when I lived in New Jersey. So shout out from one Jersey girl to another, mama. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, George and Sam. This is like kind of creepy and weird, and I was like, I don't know if I should send this message, but here I am. I was out to dinner, and lo and behold, I sat next to the one and only Sam Taggart because it was one of those restaurants that was really, really, close quartersy in Brooklyn, and I knew you were there, and I didn't want to be weird and say I love the podcast, but I wanted to call and say I love the podcast. And also, is it weird to say, hey, I like the podcast and I laugh weekly to you, or was I correct in not saying anything? I can't decide truly if it's straight or gay to choose one way or the other, so I'd appreciate your input. Bye.
Sam, do you have any recollection of what this could have been? It was in New York, so it was when you were visiting New York.
I think it was at Ops pizza place.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Did you notice someone sort of shaking and sneaking looks at you and sweating and sort of tearing up and trying to make this decision?
No, I didn't notice. And in fact, whenever I'm at Ops or a similar Bushwick-based restaurant, I sort of look around with an expectation of, does anyone know who I am? Or have I completely lost touch with everyone? And
yeah, go ahead.
Like, there are days, if I'm at, like, say, the Exley and no one comes up to me and says I like the podcast, I go, I guess I'm dead. I guess no one cares about me and I am dead. So to this caller, always at this stage in our lives, come up and say hello. We are simply not famous enough to have that be an issue, and it is still at a point where it is so tasteful.
Yeah, and I want to echo that and say it genuinely is positive every time. I feel like it's very rare that, it's someone that's like weird and I'm like, oh God, now I have to deal with this person. It's actually very nice to see that the people who listen are cool. And I'm like, damn, you're like are rocking that little outfit and you're out and about and you are going to go into that vintage store and you are going to come out with, a pair of Levi's 505s that actually fit you perfectly because you're one of those people that know how to shop vintage denim and can say, is this from 87 or 91?
Couldn't be me, but I respect you. And, specifically come up to us if we're with friends, family. I find that they will respect us more afterwards.
100%.
And it sort of proves our egos after that.
Yeah. And, we have so many experiences, not to get vulnerable, that actually bring us down a notch. On a day-to-day basis, just by virtue of, the people we're surrounded by. So it always is welcome to just get a little ping of recognition. I'll tell you an example of something I'm talking about. At the very party I was just talking about last night, I see someone I know coming out of this venue, and I think she's waving at me. I do a little wave. Beeline's right past me to Ella Emhoff.
Oh,
So that's what we're dealing with on a daily basis, folks.
Folks, that is really funny.
So yeah, if you see me at Ops, you better fucking say hello.
You better come up and say fucking hi.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Should we do the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Sam and George. I just listened to your ins and outs for 2025 episode, and I completely agree with what you said about Amaro-based cocktails. I one day wanted a Cynar spritz, Cynar, the Amaro, but I didn't have any Prosecco or champagne, so I just used some limoncello LaCroix, and it was spectacular. It is great if you don't want to have anything particularly strong. It's essentially just watered down Amaro. Cannot recommend it enough. I also think Cynar is a particularly gay Amaro, and I would be interested to hear the two of you rank various Amaros by gayness to straightness. That's all.
So, I have a huge surprise about this call, which is that I texted our dear friend Allison Roman, and I said, Allison, I know you just gave birth 2 months ago and are in fact the mother of an infant, but you have to drop everything, including your child, to answer this question from our dear caller. And so I asked her to sort of off the top of her head, tell me which Amari she thinks are gay and which ones she thinks are straight. And so I can post her texts. We can post her texts on Instagram, but some highlights. She says Montenegro is straight. She says Faccia Bruto is bisexual but gay, which is actually very wise, and I completely agree with. She sent me a link for Amaro Nonino. Have you ever had that?
Mm-mm.
Look up the bottle. She was like, this one's gay, and I completely agree. It is so stunning, and it's to have that in your home bar. I mean, you are hosting. You're not even hosting an Oscars party because that's too conventional. You're hosting a Critics' Choice Awards viewing party. And then I asked her, to me, 3 of the main kind of like basic ones that you see everywhere are Cynar, Averna, and Fernet. And I was like, all right, let's rank those gay to straight. And she said, from gay to straight, Cynar, Averna, Fernet, which goes along with what this caller is saying, that Cynar is sort of gay.
Yeah.
I do think Averna is kind of down the middle. And Fernet is, to me, very like straight bartender after his shift, with the boys.
Yeah, it's very like 45-year-old like former punk band who now like owns a bar.
Totally. And it's also like adjacent to Williamsburg 2008 era unicycle.
It's that
kind
grown
of a vibe.
up.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Do you have any thoughts on Amari?
No, I agree. I think Cynar, I think, the way that it is difficult to pronounce, many people have their own way of saying it. That's obviously one of the gayest elements of it.
It's the Loewe of Amari.
Exactly. I went through a big Cynar phase because I had convinced myself that this was like 5 years ago when I hadn't figured out what was going on inside of my body, where I was like, certain alcohols really upset my stomach, and then that one I was like, this one works. So I was having like that with tequila and
oh my god,
seltzer.
Was that good?
It was so good. It was sort of like it was almost like a tequila Manhattan or something.
Yeah, I know. I find that they really add a a elevated fountain drink element to whatever cocktail you're having, which is sometimes exactly what I want.
Yeah, basically.
And I want to give a shout out to, I'm sticking with our prediction that Amaro-based cocktails are in for 2025, and I've been ordering them left and right at restaurants.
Really?
I recently had a very good one at Eel Bar in New York. So if you're in Manhattan, check it out.
Huge.
Okay. Ooh, okay. This is a good one.
Hi, Sam and George. This is Zach calling from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
Woo.
My question is, where are the gayest and straightest places on your body to get a tattoo? Thanks. Love you.
I want to say this is the
Whoa.
second Zach we've had this round. And also, usually we have a pretty balanced gender. We have a pretty like good gender balance in calls, but this time specifically, it's a lot of gay guys.
I mean, they took 385. Is that our number? 385 gay guys. They took 385 gay guys quite literally.
Yeah, it's like that doesn't mean you can only call if you're a gay guy.
Anyone can call you guys. So the gayest parts or straightest parts to get a tattoo on your body. This is complex because, okay, here's one that I think it goes in the gay category.
Yeah,
I think upper thigh.
100%.
Because I see a lot of gay guys do this and then wear their little short shorts so that you can see the tattoo still.
Yeah.
And I find that to be fun. I actually like that placement. I'm like, the lower back tattoo, I want to know where you think it stands these days.
Okay, so my first thought, just off the top of my head about this question, is the more conventional placements are the more straight, and the less conventional ones are the more gay. So straight is like, it is like upper arm where someone would have like a big cross. Like that is straight. Lower back tattoo, classic sort of woman on spring break. You know, she's having the time of her life and she's getting a frozen marg. Like that is straight. I think chest, like a lion on your chest is straight. Like chest, upper arm, lower back. You know what's very straight to me? Ankle. Like ankle is to me kind of like a mom from Colorado that is one Facebook post away from being anti-vax, but she loves the outdoors and she sort of, you know, she'll like call her husband a pussy.
Wrist to me is also very straight in that same category.
Wrist is very straight, and also anything like anywhere you could imagine an infinity symbol going.
Yeah. Wow.
So then I completely agree with you about the leg placement. I think similarly to that, something that's like in the lower arm, like right below the elbow and off center or something is very gay. It's very like, you know, it's sort of on the continuum of graphic designer, architect, you know, kind of that, you know, yes, you're mixing art and commerce, but you're doing it tastefully.
Here's one that I think belly tattoos are back.
Yes.
Like in a big way.
Like Cisco style.
Yeah. Or like, and I think, and I'm specifically seeing like bears get them in a way that I think is a cool look.
Yeah. And
I do think it's, because I'm not seeing like straight guys with abs do it. I'm seeing like gay bears have them in a way that I'm like, well, that's, so I'm counting that one as gay now too.
Belly, like over the belly button?
Yeah, like sort of like the Tupac thing.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was, of course, imagining Cisco's thing that goes around his belly button.
Oh,
like
no. I was thinking,
okay.
Yeah, like the Tupac, like word across.
Yeah. Which is also, I mean, this is different, but like Rihanna under boob tattoo.
Yeah.
That is gay? Yes.
I think that's gay. I think that counts as gay.
I think if it was someone other than Rihanna that had popularized it, it could have gone into the straight direction, but I think she has enough of a cool factor that it remains slightly off kilter.
Hot take, I think face tattoos are straight.
100%. Face tattoos are, I mean, I keep wanting to say Benson Boone, but that's someone different. But like, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Benson Boone. Face tattoos are like the thing that someone named Benson Boone would have.
Yeah, you're thinking of like Post Malone. And who's that like Lil Swimmer? Like what was that swimming? Teddy Swims or something.
Teddy Swims. Neck tattoos, I would say, are also straight.
Yeah.
But here's the twist. Neck tattoos are also lesbian. I think there's there's a little bit hey mama lesbian, big baseball cap, straight rim.
Yeah.
It's like her name is Lauren, but not in like a chica, not in like a we're going to brunch way, in a I will knife you way.
Yeah, I see that. While we're on the topic of lesbians, can I divert from this? I think we covered the tattoos.
Well, okay, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Rib.
Rib.
Gay or straight? That actually, I think, like rib, under your armpit, I almost think that is the most down the middle. That is the most bisexual. Because I
could
think
go either way.
it depends on the vibe of the person who has it. And it's almost like rib is the arm of gay. Like it's like a rib tattoo is like either a straight person trying to be alt or a gay person trying to be tasteful.
Yeah. And all of these, it's just like they will all be gay if they're stick and poke,
Yes, 100%.
I want to talk about.
We have to talk about our backlash.
I want to talk about our clip. We posted a clip in which we were discussing lesbians and saying they love masc and femme.
Yes, the butch and femme dichotomy in lesbian and other queer communities.
And then we said we need to have a summit to talk to the lesbians about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so in sort of classic online fashion, we're getting like random people out of the woodwork being like really angry.
Which I get, by the way, and we knew that. I knew that would happen. Like, we know what we're doing here.
Yeah, we know what we're doing here. It was like an obvious thing. But in a way that I kind of thought like that style of internet had passed. Like I was sort of like, there's so much like stuff in the world that like, there's no way we're going to get random people coming out and being like, this is disgusting. Stay in your lane. Like stuff like that.
But I actually think the fact that we haven't gotten more is a sign of what you're saying.
Really?
I think so. Because I think in 2020, that would be like shared in the front page of the New York Times, and it would be like the chasm between gay men and gay women.
Yeah. I think like there's a part of me where because you chose that clip and I actually thought it was genius, and I felt like we were like letting go of the wall of the pool. We were like actually swimming. Because
we're being Teddy Swims.
We're being Teddy Swims. Because we both knew there's going to be people that take this out of context and are mad. But it's also like you look at the clip and everything said is actually deeply inoffensive. And so it's like...
And we're literally saying the entire time, we don't know. We want to talk to lesbians about it.
Yeah. And so it was just like, I was actually very proud of us for committing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. We're going Elon mode.
We're getting like, we're not leading with fear.
No, we're not leading with fear. And I think, and we're also trusting our audience.
Yeah.
Which I actually think being like condescending to your audience and treating them as children is much more offensive than just trusting that they understand context and are open-minded about your flaws and the gaps in your knowledge.
And we're like, just like fine with it. Like the people being like posting something crazy, it's sort of like, it's weird to look at because you're like, well, that's bizarre. And you like almost want to be like, hey, I think you're misunderstanding. But then you're like, oh, who cares? Like, whatever.
There's something, you see a comment that grossly misstates what you said or something. And of course you want to be offended, but you can also just be like, isn't it beautiful? We're all part of this giant community and it's such a big tent that your dumbass can coexist with me in the comment section of this stupid random video.
It is interesting the different internets everyone is on.
Yeah.
And I was actually like, the way that people are disliking this clip, again, will make it do better. And that's
the question, that's what I learned, from Chris Hayes' book about the attention economy. It's not about good or bad. It's just about attention or no attention.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yes. And of course, the lesson from Trump is be more like him.
I mean, folks, if you can't beat him.
All right. Wait, not to be so obsessed with this tattoo question, but final question. Finger tattoos a la Ariana Grande. Where do you stand?
Well, this is where I was almost afraid for this to be asked because it's really complex. Because I think when women get the like Ariana Grande really dainty ones, that to me is so like straight girl that lives in LA.
Well, it's straight girl that has read The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah. And like to me, it's a sign of, I'm thinking of like one specific woman I saw at brunch maybe 2 months ago that I actually haven't been able to shake, because she had the little finger tattoos, but everything was so done. Like the makeup was perfect, the hair was perfect. Like, and this is at like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And on a Saturday. And I was like, you're like almost wanting the finger tattoos to show like I'm not perfect, but everything inside of you is screaming, please see me as perfect.
Yeah.
That seeing the finger tattoos just adds more perfection. Like I'm like, that is just, you're trying to balance how perfect everything is, and you can't. Like, that's too perfect also.
Genius.
So I'm but then the knuckle tats also, I go either way. Like that,
because it could be leather. It could be leather culture.
Yeah.
The eagle, stud written on your knuckles.
And so I'm torn on that, because I don't know many straight guys who like just sincerely do that nowadays.
Totally.
But maybe that's because I only hang out with cucks and losers. But I do know gay guys who have it because of that eagle vibe.
Yeah.
And I also think it's hot.
Totally. I would say also anything around the collarbone, I think no matter the gender, is pretty gay.
Yeah.
All right. Next call. Ooh. Oh, now this is the big star of the night.
Hey, George and Sam. I have a question for what you would do in a scenario that I have experienced recently. So I meet this cute guy on an app, and he says he wants to come over and have me use him as a footrest while I watch TV. And I was kind of like, that's a new one for me, but, I can oblige. Easy enough. But then I was like, well, what do I watch? Like I can't, I don't know, put on an episode of Drag Race. Or maybe I could, and we could both watch together. And I don't know. I was really kind of going through a spiral trying to think of what would be appropriate in that scenario. I ended up going with a hockey game because that felt safe. I don't even follow sports, and I don't think he does either. But that just kind of felt like it was the right mood. But I'm curious what you would do in that situation. Like, what TV shows or movies do you think would be good to watch while you're using a stranger from the internet as a footrest? Let me know what you think. Okay, bye.
Damn, I love that.
First of all, I'm standing up and I'm giving that a standing ovation. Nicole Scherzinger style at Sunset Boulevard. I'm saying, you ate that, bitch.
You ate that, bitch. I want to commend you for your approach to sexuality. I feel like I have a really similar approach where, I've been on record as saying this, and I stand by it. I unfortunately have an improviser's approach to sexuality where if someone says, I want to try this, I'm like, sure. Yeah. Okay. I'll try that.
Totally.
And there are people that you get hit up by on the apps where they're like, I want to do this. And you're sort of like, well, especially when it's like low effort for you, where it's like, if you're getting a kick out of this and I can tell people I get to use someone as a footrest, then sure, I'll try it.
And I want to commend you so that's sort of your Sam side, is the improviser's approach to sexuality. I think the George side of this is hearing that and your thought being not like questioning the sexual part of it, but questioning what do you watch on TV? Like that kind of like neurotic indecisiveness, and then being like paralyzed by that choice. So much so that you sort of like forget what you're doing this all for is very, me sitting down to write.
I really do see how complicated it is, because I think I'm a little confused. Like, do you use them as a footrest and then hook up, or is it just you use them as a footrest and then leave? Mm-hmm. Because if you're then hooking up, then I would want something that's sexy to you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just like, if the whole goal is sort of just ignore him, then I think it could be fun to put on something that, even something that you enjoy that he like actively does not know anything about.
Totally.
I was even thinking it would be fun to sort of put on like, or do something that he does want to see and don't let him watch. Like put on like the new episode of Severance and be like, but you have to turn away from the TV while I enjoy it.
What about this? Okay, you do like an exaggerated version of not being able to decide what you want to watch, and you're just going from Netflix homepage to HBO homepage to Amazon homepage, pressing something and then like getting out of there 2 minutes in, like doing the most annoying possible thing someone could experience secondhand.
I actually love that.
I think
that's really torturous.
I think that could be fun. I think, needless to say, there's something especially kinky about watching like a really wholesome, like family, like truly watching a Christmas Story while you are using someone as a footrest.
Yeah, that is fun.
Or along similar lines, watching like a rom-com, like watching Devil Wears, Bridget Jones's Diary or something.
What would you, like, realistically, you're going to do this, what would you choose?
Okay, let's see.
Because I think, unfortunately, for me, I would choose something sort of inoffensive. Like, I do think I would watch, like, honestly, Survivor. Like, something that I can check in on or can check out of. And, yeah, I think I would watch something, like, a little innocuous like that.
I have to say, I think in theory, that is the right thing to do. And I actually think that's what this person would want. I would sort of not be able to resist the temptation to watch something gay and then just sort of like add another layer of kind of confusion to the whole thing. Like, just watch something that I know has a very intense sex scene and just be like, let's see where this goes.
Sure. That's fun.
I don't know why, but I keep wanting to say Michael Clayton. Or like a legal thriller.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is okay, here's what I think is drawing me to it. You want something that gets your heart rate up and has tension, but not in a sexual way, because that would be too obvious. Mm-hmm. Like, it's actually sort of amateurish to press play on like literal porn. But what if you press play on Run Lola Run? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or The Bourne Identity.
Well, I'd love to do a rewatch, of course. I do think the hockey game is a smart choice.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But then it's also like a little too performative if you don't even really care.
Well, that's the thing. If you don't care, then you're basically sitting there being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm using him as a footrest. I can't believe I'm using him as a footrest. You do need
it has to be something you actually want to watch.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Okay. Wow. This is interesting. I sort of want to know like how this night turned out.
I mean, all media and sex are confusing. This is something I think about a lot with like, I don't know, like if you're like hanging out with people who are like potential sexual partners, and you're like, hanging out, playing music, it's like normal, and then you're like, okay, let's go to the bedroom, and then there's no music, and it's sort of like, oh, well, this now feels like very like, let's get it done. Yeah. And it's like, well, you want that like hangout vibe still, but then if you're like very purposely putting on music in the bedroom, it's a little like, well, you're a pervert. Like, don't, like, why would you stop and think about what music to play and then
I know.
And then like to have a sex play, like
the politics of sex music is one of the most confusing areas, I would say.
Yeah.
You literally can't. It's so difficult to find the happy medium where on the one hand you're trying so hard if you're putting on Sade or whatever, but then on the other side you're not going to put on Vampire Weekend. So like, what is it?
And I genuinely don't know. I mean, it's like even something like Joni Mitchell is like, whoa, that's what are you doing? Like,
what's the most cliche? You know that band Rye?
No, is it RAYE?
Make love to me one more time.
I don't know this.
RHYE. It is. They truly make. By the way, I'm a fan, don't get me wrong, but they make sex music for straight people who live in Clinton Hill. Like, it is specifically meant to be played in that context. And listen, it does the job, but it is so obviously for that it almost like desexualizes what you're doing. Okay, here's my final thought on this footrest thing. Regardless of what you watch, here's what you do after it's over. Ready? Literally just get up, go to your bedroom, close the door as though you're just going to sleep, come back out fully nude just to turn off the light in the living room, go back into your room. He's in the dark. He's literally on his hands and knees in the dark, and you are asleep. He's fully humiliated, and he now has to pick himself up in the dark and leave your apartment.
Wow, you're good at this.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam and George. I have a question that I really need your help with. Need some scientific inquiry here. What the fuck is going on with wrestling? Not the professional wrestling with John Cena, but like the college, high school wrestling. It is so homosexual, and yet, non-self-aware Midwestern dads who their favorite activity is mowing their lawn, they go crazy for it. So, what's going on there? I think we need a full StraightioLab investigation. I know you guys have kind of covered it a little bit on, I think the Contact Sports episode, and that was helpful. But I think maybe Sam needs to go undercover and join a wrestling team. I think maybe George needs to do, a full, spotlight-style research. I think maybe you guys should do a commentary on a wrestling broadcast. I don't know. I think we need to know what's going on. I need to understand. It's like it transcends straightness and gayness in a way that maybe will heal the world or maybe will destroy it. I don't know, but just wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Love you. Bye.
This is the way that I'm just simply too biased to actually engage with this is it makes it journalistically impossible because I'm it just is too sexual to me. It is too sexual. It is too hot. It is the wrestling teacher, the wrestling coach at my, middle school, high school, the way that I wanted to have sex with them so bad. I remember wanting to join the wrestling team and my mom being like, no, you don't. And ultimately she was right. But I was just I think, and I didn't even know how to label it. I didn't know I was oh, I'm just horny and acting crazy. But I was fully just I'm horny and want to join the wrestling team. And it is deeply, deeply, deeply confusing. And I agree. I don't know what the deal is with Midwestern dads that love it, but I wish it's almost I'm jealous that they're able to engage with it in a non-sexual way because I cannot.
Yeah, it's funny that you wanted to join because I had the opposite reaction where because it was so clearly sexual, I was well, I'm going to get a boner. And I can't be just not that anyone was begging for me to join the wrestling team, by the way, but I could never be expected to be just being touched by a man while cupping his butt and then not. And what am I going to do?
You're literally miming fucking for the whole time. But
I almost think high school and college wrestling is the topic that breaks the StraightioLab model. There is actually something about it that it's not exactly the exception that proves the rule, but it's it is so perfectly down the middle and emblematic of all the things we talk about how something is so straight that it circles back around to being gay, about how being homoerotic is actually straight sometimes because it's an expression of masculinity. It's it's father-son relationships, it's high school sports, it is men weighing themselves. It's little leotards and color-coded outfit. I can't even begin to process how I would rank it as gay or straight or put it in conversation with other topics that we've had, which is why I think we've done UFC fighting, which is different. I could easily talk about pro wrestling. I could talk about boxing, but there is something about that kind of wrestling that kind of breaks the brain.
It really does. And I honestly wonder how, wrestling as a sport, as a college and high school sport made so much more sense when people were closeted, when people had to be closeted, because it was sort of well, why would this ever be attractive? And now that it's well, obviously this is attractive to some, it's this doesn't make sense anymore. I'm thinking of the Duke wrestling Instagram knows people find it hot. They post videos of the wrestlers wrestling and then stand and you're you can see their bulges, you can see how hot and horny it all is, and they like are leaning into it a little bit, or at least the social media manager is, in a way where I'm like, I don't know if this is right either. Like, it's, don't get me wrong, it's hot, but I'm like, this is crazy. This is just like, these are just athletes.
Yeah. Why are you posting them with the caption like, "Who's got cakes today?"
Yeah. But I've like genuinely lost myself on an Instagram account for like 15 minutes because I was like, damn, this is so hot.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the sort of tragedy of someone being a real athlete, like being genuinely training to be good at something and giving it their all, and doing it out of a pure love of the sport and out of a desire to win, and not being able to escape how porny they look is like definitionally camp. You know what I mean? Like, there is something that's like that where you cannot exist outside of the sexual implications of the performance.
You know what this reminds me of, actually? It's Jacqueline Novak's sex potatoes joke, where she's talking about like being a woman, having a woman's body, and like just, it's like you're constantly walking around with a bag of sex potatoes, and everyone's always like, ooh, sex potatoes for sale. And she's like, no, I'm just walking around, and she like can't take off the sex potatoes.
Yeah.
And that's how wrestlers are just trying to wrestle.
No,
and they
true.
people keep trying to buy their sex potatoes, and they can't get rid of it.
No, they can't get rid of them. Although, I mean, it's like, actually, when you're there and it's just straight people and fathers, no one is addressing the sex potatoes. They actually are all living in a bubble where there is no one is thinking like, isn't this camp? No one is thinking like, isn't it weird that he just like touched his, like pulled his testicle?
Yeah. Isn't it weird that he just mounted him?
Yeah.
I mean, wrestling in particular, because other sports have like variations of nudity, variations of
swimming. I mean,
swimming, for crying out loud. But they're not fucking rubbing each other.
No, they're not.
They're not dominating one another. Like, it's literally.
And water polo, for example, is gay. Like, it's like it's very like silly to be like splashing around and then put drag down someone's bathing suit and you can like briefly see their ass. Like, that's silly. Whereas wrestling, there's also something about wrestling that just reminds me of like, there's something quintessentially not sad, that's not what I want to say, but like, it's very like, the dad was a wrestler himself, but then got an injury. Like, it's very Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler. Mm-hmm. There's something so where you just like, all of them are underdogs. No matter if you're winning, like, all of them are underdogs and you want to see them succeed. And I actually, even saying all of this, I feel bad making fun of wrestling because I'm like, those men are doing their best. This is all they got.
No, you're so right. The moment you decide to become a wrestler, you are an underdog.
Yes, exactly. The moment you decide you are an underdog, your mom has curly bangs and she's trying to feed her 7 children.
I'm thinking about the people that did wrestling in high school, and they were all underdogs. Like, it's like a certain level of like sort of athletic, sort of nerdy.
Yes, 100%.
And like, yeah, that is really interesting.
Even though it's such a show of strength, you're not the quarterback. You're not homecoming king. You're kind of like weird and good at math. Yeah.
Wrestling is very, you're good at math.
Fuck.
But
again, all of this is further proof that it's like we found the one thing that is unanalyzable. Like, we cannot use our critical thinking skills to crack it.
And also not to, the Greek roots, of course.
Well, of course.
And being like fully naked and like oiled up.
Yes. Which of course makes it both right-wing coded in one sense, in the sense of like, let's get back to men being men, etc. But then also is like, utopian, back to earth on the other side of things. So it can even be read as like progressive in some way.
It is like impossible to comprehend.
Huh.
You know how there's like gay rugby leagues and gay hockey leagues?
Yes.
I can't believe there's not a gay wrestling league.
But I was thinking about this. I thought about this, and then I forgot that I wanted to make the point. But that's another example of how complicated it is. It is the one sport, even though it's on paper the gayest thing you can possibly do is like simulate sex with your friends. It is the one thing that doesn't have gay leagues. And of course, don't write to us. We're sure it does, but they're not as popular as the gay rugby and gay dodgeball. And I actually think, of course, the reason is because it's too close to sex.
Well, of course. You can't pretend you're not having sex because you kind of are.
Yeah. And they would start having sex right there on the rink.
God. Back to the foot table guy. There's always like those guys that are like want to wrestle like on Scruff and stuff. Yeah. And I've always been like, could be kind of exciting, but I also don't actually know how to do it. I love the premise, but I think if they actually know how to wrestle in a real way, it'll be over really quickly.
Yeah, I don't need to be punched in the face.
Yeah, like
I'm just trying to be a footstool. By the way, maybe that's the answer is wrestling is so dense as a text that's the best and most like horny and inappropriate thing you could watch while using someone as a footrest is like college wrestling. I'm not going to say high school because I think that would open up another can of worms, but college wrestling.
I'm all in.
Okay.
Well, I've never had to pee so bad in my whole life. So should we
let's
wrap it up?
Well, I thought this was a very successful call-in episode. I do want to reiterate that this could be yours for the very low price of $5 a month.
And also, generally, we're going to do more of these episodes. If you want to call in to 385 gay guys at any point that you feel and just leave a message and we'll comment on it, basically.
Yeah. And I kind of like that we're going to just do it whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, and to the guy whose voice I called gay, I'm sorry.
We love all the gay guys named Zach that called. And we invite even people who aren't gay guys named Zach to call from here on out.
Yeah.
Even though Zach is trending as a name in my life. For a while, everyone was named Patrick, and now more and more people are named Zach.
Huh.
No, just something I've noticed.
I can see it for sure. Right. Okay, well, this has been an absolute delight. So goodbye.
We love you.
We love you.
Stay safe.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, George and Sam. This is like not for the pod. Well, it's for you, but no obligation to play it on the podcast. But I just wanted to say how much I love the show and that it's really become, in an earnestness bonanza way, very meaningful to me. And I want to say thanks for putting it out. I am like the opposite of you two. I'm a 25-year-old who lives in Texas and works in corporate finance. But I love the show. It cracks me up. I've gotten a lot of my close friends and my sister hooked on the show. And I have one friend that in particular really loves the show with me. And we listen to it and talk about it together. And we always debate on who is the George and who is the Sam in our friendship. It's brought us closer together. And I don't know. New year, new me, just thinking about things and wanted to say thanks for, putting out a great, funny show that has meant a lot to me for the past year that I've been listening, and I'm catching up on the backlog of, the years before that I wasn't listening in real time. So anyways, just wanted to say thanks and that, I love you both and I hope your 2025 has been off to a really good start. And okay. Bye-bye.
StraightioLab is a production by Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network and iHeart Podcasts.
Created and hosted by George Civeris and Sam Taggart.
Executive produced by Will Ferrell, Han Sani, and Olivia Aguilar.
Co-produced by Bei Wang.
Edited and engineered by Adam Avalos.
Artwork by Michael Fales and Matt Grubb.
Theme music by Ben Kling.